There's a strange thing about bone health advice. Almost everyone is told to take more calcium, and almost nobody hears about the plants that change the environment your bone-building cells live in. In this episode, we're going to look at those plants, the ones that act like calcium on steroids, not because they contain more of it, but because they push your whole bone-building system into a higher gear. And if you want the full picture of how to build bone strength from the ground up, this is part 2 of a calcium series. If you haven't seen part 1 yet, it's worth watching it first and then coming back here. Okay, but now let's get back to our story. Today we're going to start with a tree whose leaves quietly carry almost everything bones depend on, and that for generations were treated as ordinary food. There's a tree that grows across parts of Africa, South Asia, and Central America. For generations, people dried its leaves and added them to soups, broths, and everyday cooking. Not as a health product or medicine, simply as food. It was never marketed, it was just what people ate. Formal research has only recently confirmed that this single plant carries something remarkable for bone health. What makes it remarkable is not one thing, it is everything arriving together. Researchers were not surprised by any single nutrient, but by the fact that this one leaf carried almost everything bones depend on, in one place. Boron stabilizes vitamin D and helps it stay active. Magnesium regulates how bone-building and bone-breaking cells behave. Vitamin C is essential for collagen, the organic scaffold that calcium mineralizes into. Most plants touch one or two of these pathways. This one touches nearly all of them at once. Bones are constantly being broken down and rebuilt. Osteoblasts build bone. Osteoclasts remove it. When inflammation rises and key nutrients are missing, that balance tips toward breakdown. The plants in this episode work at the level of that balance, not by delivering one isolated nutrient, but by changing the environment around bone-building cells. The plant is called moringa, and the research behind it goes further than its nutrient profile. Preclinical studies found that moringa extracts stimulate osteoblast activity and reduce inflammatory signals that accelerate bone breakdown. Animal studies showed improved bone volume, trabecular thickness, and overall density. Moringa also appears to act on the Rankel pathway, the molecular trigger that signals bone-breaking cells to begin resorbing bone. A clinical trial is registered to measure its effects on bone density in postmenopausal women. 1 to 2 teaspoons of dried leaf powder in a smoothie, stirred into warm broth, or mixed into yogurt several times a week is a realistic starting point. Those on blood pressure or thyroid medications should check with a doctor first. Most people's relationship with stinging nettle ends at first contact. The fresh leaf produces a brief, sharp sting. It passes quickly. But that single experience has kept this plant almost entirely absent from bone health conversations for decades, and that absence has come at a real cost. Inside the leaf, something remarkable is happening. Calcium, magnesium, potassium, zinc, boron, vitamin K, vitamin C, and one more compound that separates this plant from most of the bone health list. Nettle ranks among the richest plant sources of bioavailable silica, with concentrations up to 1% of dry weight. Silica builds and stabilizes the collagen framework within which bone is formed. Bone is not a solid block of calcium. It is calcium deposited into a flexible organic scaffold, and silica gives that scaffold structural integrity. Without it, the framework weakens regardless of how much calcium is arriving. Research has documented nettle's effects on osteoblast activity and local inflammatory markers in bone tissue. Its minerals arrive as a complete matrix that the body incorporates differently from isolated compounds in a bottle. If this profile were compressed into a clinical supplement with a pharmaceutical-sounding name, it would likely carry a far higher price than a bag of dried nettle leaves from a health store. A nettle infusion steeped 4 to 8 hours releases significantly more minerals than a standard 10-minute brew. Dried nettle powder disappears into soups and stews. Fresh nettle blanched briefly in boiling water loses its sting entirely. Those on blood thinners or diuretics should check with a healthcare provider first. So one plant is missing from bone conversations because people are afraid to touch it. The next is missing for the opposite reason. It looks too ordinary to notice. In most kitchens, parsley finishes the plate, then gets left behind when the plate is cleared. People reach past it, push it to the side, treat it as decoration. For most of modern cooking history, that is exactly what it became. But here's what almost nobody knows. Fresh parsley provides around 1,000 to 600 micrograms of vitamin K per 100 grams, well over the full daily requirement. A single tablespoon already delivers more than enough. Vitamin K activates the process that deposits calcium into bone tissue. So every large handful left decorating the side of the plate is a missed step in that chain. That alone would be enough to make parsley worth reconsidering. But it is still not the full story. 2 flavonoids in fresh parsley, apigenin and myritzin, directly influence bone cells. Research found that apigenin inhibited bone-breaking cell formation and prevented bone loss in an experimental osteoporosis model. It also supports bone-building activity and collagen production. Parsley supplies B vitamins that reduce homocysteine, an amino acid that, at elevated levels, damages the collagen network within bone and is an under-recognized risk factor for bone fragility. So 2 to 4 tablespoons of fresh parsley used as a real ingredient in a soup, a sauce, or a grain bowl begin addressing all of this at once. The sprig on the plate is not the point. The large handful inside the meal is. The foundation from part 1 stays in place. What this episode has added are not replacements, they are amplifiers. If the foundation foods are the bricks and mortar, these are the extra crew that arrives with better materials and builds faster. These plants are not miracle solutions. They are smart nutritional additions, and none of this replaces medical care. For anyone managing a diagnosed bone condition or on bone-related medications, that conversation with a doctor stays at the center of everything. So 2 episodes in, the foundation is laid, the amplifiers are in place. In the next episode, we're going to stop adding new plants and start putting everything together. We'll talk honestly about spinach, why most people are counting on it for calcium, whether that trust is deserved, and turn everything from this series into a simple weekly pattern you can live with. Stay tuned for part 3.